Welcome to All Things Growing, a podcast dedicated to supporting you in your journey of self-discovery and growth. When the world says you're too young to reach certain heights and that you have to wait to build a robust career, 22-year-old journalist and Forbes staff writer Asia Alexander is saying the opposite. In today's episode, we break down how to beat post-grad anxiety and build your dream career from scratch, no matter your age. Hey girl!
Hey,
Welcome to the podcast.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm so excited for you to be my very first guest. And so I want to start the podcast off by just giving your flowers. So, journalist, host, guest speaker. You're a 2024 Online News Association Fellow, a 2025 Pulitzer Center Reporting Fellow, an AT&T Rising Future Maker and Chevrolet GTU Fellow. You've worked at General Motors, Alvin Ailey, NASA, Glitter Magazine, The Washingtonian, and more. You've worked across multiple industries from communications, public relations, and most notably journalism. You're a 2025 Howard University graduate and a proud alumna. Welcome to the club. And you're a previous Forbes editorial intern, now turned Forbes staff writer, and you're only 22. How do you feel? Because you've done so much.
Um, I've actually never heard somebody like say my resume out loud. That sounds like a lot. It feels really good to have accomplished, like really young. Honestly, I'm just thankful and blessed that I was able to do it at a very young age. So I'm in a very thankful mindset.
I love that. And I list it out because I think so often as young people, we feel like we'll be great when we accomplish this, or like once I reach this junction, then I'm fully this thing. But I feel like your career and just your overall tenacity within your life is proof like we don't have to wait and that we can hold all our accomplishments as Black folks, as women, as a Southern woman, you can hold it and you can really just take a moment to applaud that. And so I'm curious, do you feel like you're able to sit in
Yeah.
that, or do you feel like you're also still processing along with that gratefulness?
I think that one thing that you said that really like stood out to me is something that is one of my biggest pet peeves is when older people make younger people feel like we can't really achieve as fast as we can because they didn't achieve as fast as we are as Gen Zers. And that's kind of been my mantra like the entire time for my career throughout undergrad is that you don't have to like wait to kind of do anything. You can just do it because as we all know, tomorrow is like not promised. So am I gonna like die and like not really fulfill what I'm supposed to fulfill? So that's kind of my day-to-day mindset with that. But I also think that like if I was still processing and still trying to grasp all of the things that I've done, then I wouldn't be making progress. And so I don't do that as often, I would say. I just like do it. I do it and I keep going. And I wouldn't say that it should be a timeline
Mm-hmm.
to a way a person achieves. I think kind of just ordained for a person to achieve. And when you kind of have like this calling on your life and like you kind of have this gift about you, your gift to kind of itch you to want to do more. And I think that's kind of what journalism did for me personally.
I 100% agree. I definitely feel like, I always say, I feel like you don't have dreams or these hopes for like no reason, like they didn't just come from nowhere. I think honestly, like if you have this feeling of like, I want to do these things or I want to go after this or I have this passion, that's because maybe a future version of yourself has already done those things and trying to get you like, okay, girl, lock in because you have the potential. And I think it's so important that we tap into that because I don't think we often do. I think it's very easy to sort of ignore that internal voice because you feel like you're not ready or you feel like you're too young or you're too this or you're too that, especially in our generation where like I talked about this in my last episode, but I feel like social media, girl, it's so everybody's doing everything and it's so easy to be like because you're not doing it the way that they're doing it, then you're not doing it.
Definitely agree. I think that while I was at Howard University, one of the things that used to come up with the student body a lot is imposter syndrome. Me as a student individually, I have never dealt with imposter syndrome.
Are you
And I
serious?
truly think that is due to not only I'm being so for real. Like I put on my mama. I have never dealt with that. But I think it's because of my good family structure at home too. Like my mom and grandma had a talk with me before I came to Howard, and they basically told me I'm also a Christian. So like I'm rooted in faith a lot, and so a lot of our conversations are kind of like faith based, but they talked to me about discipline and kind of what that means as a young woman, and how discipline can take you very far, and the lack of discipline can really limit what you would do in the future. And
Mm.
that is something that really stuck with me throughout undergrad. And so there was just certain times where it's like everybody else out at the party, I'm out working. You know what I'm saying? Because that's
Yes.
discipline. I'm sacrificing now so that like at 30, I won't have to do, be busting my behind around here trying to make millions where I can make it when I'm young. So
Yeah.
imposter syndrome kind of didn't come up in my head because I was disciplined. And I was
Yeah.
disciplined to kind of know that, like, I'm that girl. Regardless of whether
Clark it.
Howard accepts me or not, I'm still that girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just how my mom taught me to, like, come into college. It's like, you know yourself, you know your worth, you know what you believe in, be disciplined about it, and you'll reap the rewards. And so I think that, like, the whole thing of like comparison, do people do it? Yes. Do I think comparison is the thief of joy? Absolutely. Because
Clark it.
everybody's path is different. And it, yeah, it's totally different. And I think that, like, you know, you lose blessings when you don't celebrate somebody else's path being successful, because you don't know how that other person's like reacting to the way that you're reacting to them. That person could be your boss in 10 years and give you your first Fortune 500 company job. You just never know. So I think that when you compare yourself to others, number one, you become envy of them. Number two, you become hateful of them sometimes when you should be celebrating them, because everybody has their own journey. So that's something that I just really never dealt with as a person.
Clark it. Can you talk more about discipline? Because I feel like, girl, I'm still trying to learn that. Like, what would you say some of the tips are to actually like practice discipline outside of doing like, sounds like time management. What are other ways would you talk about that you can like really get good at discipline?
I think that's a really interesting question. Like I said before, I grew up Christian. I actually grew up kind of like Pentecostal based. I've never seen like my grandma like wear like jeans or anything like that. So I kind of had discipline in like my
Yeah.
ways my entire childhood.
We haven't talked about this, but both of our families are from Tallahassee, Florida. And so my family, I have a couple aunts who
Yes.
don't wear pants.
That's a normal thing. Like that is a black southern like auntie, especially if they're like in the church, like that's their thing. So I grew up around that. Discipline was in my face. Like my grandma is a saint. Like some people can't even say that, but my grandma is really a saint. Like she don't have earring holes, she don't drink, she don't cuss, she don't go to football games. So I grew up with people who practice discipline in their daily lives. So I think when it came time for me to follow, it wasn't as hard, but adulthood is just hard. Like sometimes you come across situations where discipline sometimes slips up, and I think that the way that I stayed anchored was number one through my faith. I got real serious about my faith in college because I just feel like if you don't believe in something, how are you making it? Like, how are you, like, what do you have to, like, hold on to? And there was a point where I felt like I needed something to hold on to. So I got real serious about my faith. Number two, I found my community. Like, I found friends who cared about me. I joined stuff at the church. Like I went to like service days at church and found other people who are in the community who go to other universities. And they help me stay disciplined. I feel like friends are there to kind of keep you accountable. And if your friends do not keep you accountable, then they're really not your friends. Because you should know your friends' dreams and aspirations. And so if your friend know where you're trying to be, they can kind of keep you on track. Like, hey girl, you're not supposed to be doing that. Hey girl, this is not
Yeah.
like you. You know what I'm saying? So I felt
Yeah.
people like that around me. And number three, I thought of the bigger picture, which I think is something that a lot of people lack. Like they think of the
Mm-hmm.
now, and I'm thinking
Yep.
about me in 5 years. Like I know
Yes.
where I want to be. I want to own a house. I want to build a house. I know the dreams and aspirations that I have, and I just like I want to be there. I need to figure out a way to get there. In order to get there, I need to be disciplined while doing it. And so I
Yes.
think discipline comes in like different forms. So I think it depends on the person. Like, what do you need to be like disciplined about? I knew what I needed to do to become a journalist, but like it can be different for every career, really.
It also sounds like I feel like in my own life, I've sort of taken that mentality, but I call it a little bit something different. I always say like you are in the driver's seat of your life and like you are in charge. Like anything how your life is in many ways it's your reflection of like your actions or your lack thereof, and so you really have to take
Mm-hmm.
hold of your life and do the things now and not wait for it to feel right, not wait for it to seem right, and like you said, like not have that imposter syndrome because the time is going to happen regardless, and if you keep waiting or keep sitting in like the back seat, girl, nothing's going to happen.
I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think that like a lot of people just like stand on the sidelines and all that kind of stuff and just like see other people. I see this all the time. People are like, I looked at LinkedIn today and I almost crashed out. Why? Instead of crashing out, just DM the person and be like, "Hey, I like where you are. Can we have a coffee chat to kind of like see how I can get there, or I just want to learn from you." I think a part of young adulthood that Gen Zers kind of lack is humility and
Mm,
humbleness. And it's okay to kind of like talk to a person and tell them that you admire them,
that's real.
and that you like where they are. And I think that's something that we lack because a lot of people have egos.
Mm,
And that's just something I don't understand. It's like if you see the person on LinkedIn and you like what they're doing, DM them because they probably have an opportunity that you don't even know about that's not even posted.
yeah,
So I think it goes both ways, imposter syndrome. But I would just say like keep your head up. Like your turn is coming, and like while you're on the sidelines, still actively do stuff.
yeah. How do you handle ego? I feel like being young and being in different environments, it can be either somebody like has more skill than you and they're looking like, girl, what do you bring to the table because I'm this thing, or just in general, maybe being black, being a woman, being whatever the intersections of our identities as a lot of sometimes it can be hard navigating not only other people's ego, but then also your own ego as far as like, believing in yourself, but then also like managing, like you do the successful things, but you still want to remain humble. How do you manage ego from not only yourself, but then also from others?
That's actually a great question, and I think that's something that I've dealt with multiple times, not with my personal ego, but just being kind of like in the media industry itself. And being young. Like I think sometimes we put the black first, but that sometimes in other people's eyes, the young really comes first before I'm black. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah,
in a lot of these newsrooms, I'm the youngest person in the office, and they've been there for years. And so when you're coming in, bringing new techniques that we're not only learning from undergrad, but we're learning from our peers, because a lot of learning, whether people like to admit it or not, comes from what you see and what you're around. So when we're bringing that into the newsroom, a lot of people get intimidated by it. But one thing, I keep using my grandma because my grandma is my anchor. She is really my anchor. One thing my grandma taught me that when people come at you a certain kind of way, especially about something that you know you're skilled at, just be kind to them. Like just be like,
ah,
yeah, you're right, you got it. You know,
my grandmother says the same thing.
really?
She there was like a conversation we had, and I was telling her like all these things, and people were like saying things, and she was like, "Not everything deserves a response." And I said, "Oh, you ate, Nana, you ate." Yes,
That's true.
yeah,
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes the response of kindness and willingness to just go along with the flow goes a long way. Because one thing for me is in the workplace, I never want you to say that I did anything to hurt you, to verbally abuse you, or that I was mean to you. I don't want it. I don't want that on my conscience. I don't want that on my career track path. So I'm gonna be nice to you. You're mean to me in the office. You tell me you're wrong. You're not doing it. Da, 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 da. I'm gonna sit you down. We're gonna have a conversation. I'm gonna say, so this is how I was learned, but I'm willing to learn your way. Let's just come together. Let's just figure it out. Because you're
yeah,
right. I agree with your method, but there may be an easier way to do this. I
yeah,
think egos can't take when a person kind of like gives into them and is kind to them at the same time, because it's like, how are you so kind to me? Like, why are you being so kind to me and I'm being like so rude to you?
Yeah.
So I think that's my method of dealing with a person with an ego, because at the end of the day, like, if you're better than them, you're gonna end out on top anyway. It's only a matter of time before their ego gets them fired. So it's like,
I want to sort of jump back because I feel like, people don't really know, maybe not know this about you, like when just looking at you or maybe encountering, but you are, like I said, a Floridian girl, Tallahassee girl, and that really has shaped a lot of your experience when it comes to even your like transition into Howard and getting into your career and like just the difference in those worlds. The women of your family has always been accomplished, but like it is a different like cultural environment. So what was it like as somebody whose family act like not somebody whose family, but as somebody who actually grew up in the state? How was that for you growing up and just coming into who you are?
yeah, I think growing up in Florida was a lot of fun. I know a lot of people hate Florida right now because of like Florida politics. Yeah, that's not the Florida I grew up in. Like, I grew up in a very um I the way to describe my childhood was youthful. Like, I had a time.
Hmm.
I had a normal childhood that these kids are not getting anymore. Like, we I had a good time. I had a good time. Like, now that I'm reminiscing on it, like, I had a
Uh-huh.
time and I had neighborhood friends. Like, it was a time. But I think that growing up and realizing a lot of the disparities that we had in Florida was a little heartbreaking to me as a high schooler. And when I was in high school, it was COVID, it was George Floyd. It was also my introduction to racism in the education system in my state. I went to a charter school. I won't name the charter school, but I went to a charter school, and my charter school was mixed. It was mixed. It was, it was black, white, Hispanic,
Yeah.
and it was pretty diverse because, the charter school was supposed to be diverse, but the teachings of the charter school was not. The administration of the charter school was not. And it was very evident in the way that we moved at the school. Me being kind of like this, like, I wouldn't say I was very social in high school. So I was social, but I was also like kind of worked up about a couple of events that we had at the school where like people were like having like fake slave auctions. It was like some crazy stuff going on, and our administration said nothing about it. It
Hmm.
was almost as if, I swear, it was almost as if it was like normal to them to let these kids post on Instagram. It was on Instagram, by the way. On Instagram, calling out black students' names that they were having a slave auction. And so I went up to my administration. I voiced my concerns about it. I got brushed off. I got told a plethora of things that still traumatize me to this day, because I think that was my first situation where I felt the need to advocate. In high
Hmm.
school, I was very much of an outspoken advocator. I was more into civil rights and the rights for educational freedom. Book bannings. I had a teacher almost get fired because he wanted us to read Toni Morrison, and they would not allow him to let us read Toni Morrison. I have so many trauma filled experiences from high school that when it was time to come to Howard, it felt like freedom to me. Like, I was around other like black individuals who understood who I was as an individual. And not only that, but we all had the same goal, the same mission, the same drive. And that to me was an escape from my small town. And I think sometimes when you grow up in those small towns, it's fun until you realize what the environment is really like. Now, every time I go home, I'm kind of like, dang, I could never live here, because like it's so conservative down there. And it's a weird environment, but I'm thankful for the experience that I did have in high school, because when I came to Howard originally, like you said, I wanted to be an attorney. because I
Yeah.
felt like education was kind of on the line. Like it was on the line and I needed to be the one to fix it. In the South, a lot of people are doctors, attorneys, nurses, like, the generic fields that you want your black children to go into. Not one time have I ever interacted, at least once, I think, and she ended up coming back in my life later. Have I interacted with a journalist?
Yeah.
It wasn't something I had planned to do. I thought that journalists were like gonna be like broke people. I had a friend major in comms, and I was like, "You gonna be broke, and I'm gonna be rich. 'Cause I'm be an attorney." And I came to Howard, and I just submerged myself in something new, and I found a passion for advocating, but in a written form. And that's something that I would have never imagined for myself in a million years. So my journey was a little different to Howard, and it was very different actually. And I was just talking to my mom about it. I was like, who would have thought that I would be this version of Asia? Like I would have never, like, my mind sometimes is still blown at what I do for a living.
Yeah.
So it's totally two different Asias going on.
I definitely can see that. I feel like you've always had that sort of like advocating kind of energy about you. Yeah. And it's crazy because I had a very similar experience when it comes to like journalism. I didn't know that it was a career path. I didn't know anything about it. I was like, I knew coming from Boston. Boston is a huge sciencey and STEM kind of place. I know you've heard this story before, but I was on the track to be an engineer. I had done programming at
Mhm.
MIT all throughout middle school and high school, and I was like, okay, this is what's going to be it. But my sort of budding into the comm space and journalism space was like, I don't I'm more passionate about making an impact on people. And I don't feel like I can really do that through engineering. And also, like, I'm a talker, I'm a Sag, I'm a people person. And that's not what sort of engineering allows you to do. It's really like, it can be very, like, I don't know, in its own little box. And not a lot of people, like, understand, like, the jargon. And so I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I'll do PR because that's in like the comm space and like it's working with people. It's a little bit of notoriety. And then I found out about journalism. I read Janet Mock's biography or memoir, and she was a famous journalist. And I was like, oh my goodness,
Mhm.
okay. And then I had a conversation with the professor at Howard, and she was like, well, from everything you're saying, it sounds like journalism would be the right path for you. And that's how I got into like the journalism comm space. And like you said, I don't think like there's so much money to be made here, one, but it's such a impactful career. Can you sort of talk to me about what it's been like to sort of see that impact that you can have through your work?
Yeah. Oh, jeez. That's a big one. I think as a creator, I feel like I'm one of the creators that struggle with this. I struggle with um celebrating my flowers. And I also like struggle with kind of like when I'm done with the project, I don't dwell on the project, which is what a lot of creators do. We kind of just like
Yeah.
move on to like the next thing,
Yes.
and
Been there.
we don't really look back at it. But like there are some projects where I'm like, dang, like that's cool, I did that, like. And some people, like, after I write a story or so, some people actually email me and tell
Yes.
me how much I changed their life. I had somebody call me and cry on the phone about me being able to break their story. And that was like, this is why I do what I do. Like, journalism doesn't make a lot, no, but it fulfills me as a person. Being able to do like comms, journalism, like that fulfills me because I know in journalism you're not supposed to advocate, but in a way we are. We're telling stories that people aren't going to find themselves. We're exposing communities and we're telling the truth. And when you tell the truth, justice is always served. And I feel like with my story, since I write like political stories a lot, that tends to be the case for me a lot. Um and it's super rewarding. It's super rewarding to make people think about things a lot differently than they did before they start reading your article.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. It's amazing to be able to have the control to kind of see how the world views things.
I want to take a little sidestep because you've done so much, you worked at so many places, and there are gonna be people who listen to this and go like, okay, like how do I actually do this? Because we all, whether it's journalism, whether it's media, whether it's engineering, whether it's PR, like no matter the field, we're all trying to figure out how can we build our dream career and have it be something that we actually enjoy. Like I don't know if it's just me, I don't know if it's just Gen Z, but like we're not into doing things that we actually don't want to do. I've seen so many TikToks where people are like, yeah, I left my 9 to 5
Yeah.
and I'm working in a coffee shop because it's so much more, it brings me so much more joy than being 9 to 5.
Funny story. I didn't plan to work at any of these places. Um, I you couldn't have told me in a billion years I would have worked at NASA for 2 years. I That's a great question. I've never really had anybody ask me how I did it. I'm gonna keep it a buck. God did it. Like I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm gonna keep it a buck because I didn't like this career path that I am on is God ordained. When I tell you I couldn't have done it myself because I didn't have the skill to do it myself. Yes, did I go and figure it out? Yes, but the opportunities, um the internships and the way that they were given to me is God ordained. Like I sometimes there would be times where I would have a simple conversation with a person and I would just get the job. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Like just by like connecting with them, by going to meet with them at a coffee shop and I would skip the whole application process. That is not me. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to be like too, faith based, but that's really how I think of my career track
yeah,
is like nothing in my life is planned. I feel like when you over plan, if the plan messes up, you're like sick to your stomach. So I
yeah,
don't plan my life out. I don't plan my career out. That's just not something I do. Now, if I see an opportunity, I'm like, okay, I'm interested in this thing. Do I apply to it? Yes. But if it doesn't work out, am I like dead over it? No. Because it
yeah,
just wasn't for me. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's kind of how I navigated my career path. It's kind of like I'm talking to this person. I go from one internship. I'm like, hey, I really like what you do. Can I sit down with you? Can I talk with you? Can you become a
yeah,
mentor for me? They did that. I talked myself into another opportunity. When I got done in that company, I literally got NASA. This is so disgusting. I got NASA the same day I got diagnosed with strep throat. I was in the hospital when I got NASA. I have never met any of these people before in my life, but I took a chance on myself. And I applied and they were like, "We like you. You're hired."
yeah,
Okay, see you on Monday. Like, having conversations with people, um, having conversations with people, connecting with them, being personable. I think that I was talking to my mom about this too. I feel like sometimes the advice that the older generation gives us is terrible. Not discussing your personal life, like not discussing your personal life with your like workmates to me is stupid. It's like how are you bonding with them? How are you seeing like what you like to do? How are you finding different ways to kind of collaborate with them? Like I think that's so crazy. Like my last internship, me and my boss literally bonded inauguration day over nail shapes cuz we like the same nail shape. Like
yeah,
if you don't like open yourself up a little bit, I feel like people would never understand how genuine of a person you can be. So I feel like a lot of the places that I've been in is because I've like worked on my character. I worked on my character as a person. I've worked
yeah,
on my skills of being genuine, of being loving. And when you're that type of person who's willing to like collaborate with anybody, who's willing to work with anybody, who's willing to take anything. That's another thing that this generation I think has totally messed up. You do not get to pick and choose what you work on. I hate that. I think it's so weird. Like some you don't have to get paid. When I was first starting out, I did not get paid. Like
yeah,
you don't have to get paid for anything. Sometimes it's about the experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to just do stuff for the experience. Oh, you want me to cover this festival? You want me to interview this famous person? I wasn't getting paid for that. I was just going to connect with people, to have my face out there. Like, I think that's something that our generation is really bad at. Oh, I don't feel like doing this because they're not paying me X, Y, and Z. Well, you're not qualified to get paid that. So if you're not qualified to get paid that and you don't have the experience, you just need to go. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I think the willingness to just do anything, to try anything, really got me to where I was.
I definitely think I feel like it's also like a two-part thing. Like I think when it comes to, I feel like us as a community, we're very like faith-based folks. But I think all those things you listed are like those additional, I sort of call it like my 100% because I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. I call it my 100%. I think as long as I'm doing my
Hmm.
100%, and that's the connecting with folks, that's the having the conversations, that's being personal, that's sharing your life with folks and making those connections. If that's all I can do, spirit, God is going to have to amplify the rest to make sure I'm in the rooms that I'm supposed to be in. And I feel like that is you can't discount your 100%. And then also when you were talking about just having your career and like doing the things for free, girl, what was I started like working at like a library one time. Like that was like sort of my first job, and it was volunteer based for like a program that I was doing. But like I think there is something to be spoken about those opportunities to just do the thing that don't always align with maybe the finances or how you think it's supposed to look. But those things do lead to other real big things. And I think it's important to, you shouldn't be 5 years into your career still doing free things because, we do want pay equity, especially as women, especially as Black folks. But I do think there is something really
We
true
do.
to be I do think there's something really true to be said about taking those opportunities as for what they are, which is they're opportunities. It's a non-paid opportunity, but it's still an opportunity for you to get yourself in the door and get that experience.
Yeah, and I think that opportunities are really experiences. I like the word experiences better because, like, your 20s, young adulthood is all about experiences. Like, you never want to say that you missed out on an experience because you was like, I think I'm too good for this. Like, I
Yeah,
think they can pay me a little bit more. No,
yeah,
because they can call somebody else who gonna do it for free, and then that person who doing it for free gonna post it and then take with your blessing that you could have had. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the mindset that shouldn't like do these things because we're not getting paid right when we're starting off. I do agree. Everybody should get paid when you get a little bit more experience. But when you're starting off, even now, there are a lot of things I don't get paid for. It's fine. I'm getting to put myself out there. I'm getting to help somebody in the process. And not only that, but I'm learning from an experience. I'm connecting. I'm nurturing relationships. That's important. And that's more important than whatever the money is going to.
yeah. It sounds like it's a little bit of discernment as well, but it also sounds like you're like balancing. Like I think you do so much, like you're doing journalism, you do social media, like you're doing a lot of different things and you always have done. I feel like that's also like a Howard thing. Like, girl, we be doing 25 different things all at once, but it's sounding like it's also a little
That's
bit
very
of
true.
balance.
That's true.
It's a give and take. How do you manage to sort of in building this dream career and getting to the places? Because like Forbes is a great place, but like you're gonna do so much more either at Forbes or outside of Forbes. Like you're gonna do so much more. How have you managed to sort of balance everything?
Yeah, I think that what is balance to a journalist? Like, what is that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think I get my balance more like I thrive more when I am busy. I rest when I need to rest. My body will tell me to rest. Um, I know myself. You have to know yourself. There are some times where I'm like, I'm really tired. I need to sleep. I'm the queen of napping for a couple of hours, resetting, and getting back up and getting to work. That to me is balance. My life being busy, me doing what I love to do. This is not like, to me personally, journalism is not work to me. It is fun to me. So if I'm not doing like what I like to do, if I'm not able to, like do it, I'm just like lost without it. And so for me, balancing is being busy. And I feel like when you are a busy person, you have friends who understand you're a busy person. So you find a way to collaborate together with your busy schedule, and you find time. I feel like you just find time. It's naturally gonna come.
Yeah.
So balance to me is a little like it's a little weird in my definition.
But I think that I think that speaks to how balance is so individual. And I think this is also, I'm a social media girly. I love social media, but like I do think it's social media. It's like you get all these opinions on like what life is supposed to be like, or at least that's how it feels like in my instance. Like it's like balance has to look like this. Balance has to mean you take a week off. Balance has to mean you go on vacations. But how I found balance in my own career, especially in like my like college days when I was doing so much and like trying to figure out what's my lane, I literally used to, I call it like pouring into my buckets. Like I would, if I'm doing social media, okay, I'm doing social media. I'm making my posts, I'm maybe running somebody else's social media, and then that's what I'm doing. Then I would have a season of like, I'm writing my articles, I'm interviewing folks, and that's my balance. And then I'm doing this in comms and this in marketing. Like, I've made sure I poured into all my buckets so that way, if I want to have this very diverse career and I want to have this career where people know her for this and know her for this and having this impact and having these types of skill sets and passions, I have to make sure I'm pouring into my buckets equally. And of course, a part of pouring into those buckets were making time to rest and making time to hang out with friends. But I feel like that, in a sense, is also balanced because you can't be, it's impossible to be everywhere at once. It like we can't do that. So I think a part of that balance
Mhm.
is pouring into your buckets at those different seasons and cycles of your life.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that one thing that you said that really stuck out to me personally, I do agree with you that I think social media is fun because if anybody sees this, they're gonna be like, "Well, this girl posts like 15 million times a day." Um, it's fun, it's entertaining, but because humans are so easily to manipulate, it is dangerous. And I think that sometimes, which I'm seeing now, this is so funny. The conversation that we're having, me and my mom just had, like,
Are you serious?
I
Divine
feel like a
timing.
lot of people are. I'm being I'm being so for real. Like I feel like a lot of people are in this copycat phase, and it's weird to me. You do not have to like you don't have to copy what somebody else is doing on TikTok. It would never work for you. And you wanna know why it wouldn't work for you? Because it wasn't meant for you. It was meant for that person. And I think that sometimes, even with trends, the skinny talk, where did this come from? Like I'm just kind of like, what happened to one like curbs and like But now everybody's seeing on TikTok, you got to get in the gym, you got to get on Stairmaster, 45 minutes, to lose.
Yes,
Like,
yes,
no, you don't. You can
yeah.
be comfortable and what you look like, you can be active, but don't stress yourself out because you're not a size zero. I think that that's what social media does, though. It puts this false imaginary like tale in our heads that we're supposed to be something and we're supposed to get to it a certain way. And that just to me is like the worst thing that could
Yeah.
have possibly happened, because what people don't understand is we are so uniquely made, and that's what makes us special. I could
Oh,
never
you're hating.
be you, Ishay. Like I could never be you. You're like that girl. You stand for what you stand for. You are so unique in the way that you storytell. You just like you could never be me. I'm a little radical sometimes. You could never be me. We don't match. But that makes us beautiful. That's what makes community. That's what makes us lean on each other. That's what makes us learn from each other. You don't have to look at a girl on TikTok and say, I want to be her. I think that she's everything I should be. You don't know what that girl got going on at home.
Yeah.
She could be putting on a whole persona on the internet. That's another dangerous thing. People put out what they want you to see, not what is really going on.
Yeah.
You would never see me post how I feel sad over what's going on in my life. Wanna know why? Because I'm embarrassed. And people don't want to be embarrassed. And I feel like I saw this trend the other day that I loved. Oh my gosh. I really feel this thing because I was just talking to my friends about this. Um I saw a trend and it was like, um, can you imagine how we used to post ourselves in like 2013? 2014. And it was a mess. Like
We looked
everybody
crazy.
looked
We looked
a mess.
crazy. We looked crazy.
But now look, honestly, with the little like striped glasses, the peace
Girl,
signs, the words
girl.
on the
The
pictures,
plaid,
the
the,
to
the
be
the red and
honest.
black plaid.
Yes. Don't do that because I actually love play. Like, don't do
No, I
that.
had I had plaid too. The the
I
the, the glasses with the lenses popped out. The 3D glasses that we were
yes,
stealing at the movie.
yes, yes. I saw so much beauty in that trend though, because it's like I didn't care what I looked like back then, and I looked crazy. But now, like when I post or when other people post, we're so quick to judge. We're so quick to um we're so quick to just be like, ew, look at her. But back in the day, it was like, look at her. I
Yeah,
love the way she's doing the roly. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
it was a beautiful thing, and I feel like now we've come to a place where we're so judgmental and so harsh to each other that it's so important that we're gentle to ourselves, because the what the world believes about a person is not really how what you should believe about yourself. And so I think that our generation is just like in this copycat phase that we should really get out of. And when you get out of that, it's just like so much freedom in it. Like you are who you are. Embrace that. I don't know. That's just me though. Just me.
No, that's real. I think there's so much to say in that, but I think that's so important because I do think when you're trying to be somebody else and thinking it's gonna, you know, going back to my whole philosophy when it comes to career, I was really big on reverse engineering. Like, I'm a first generation college student, so there's not really many pathways for me to see, like, how are people reaching the successes that I feel like I sort of want. So I looked at people that I wanted to be like and seen, okay, they did this, they did that. Okay, I can do something similar. But it's so important to put your own spin on it because when it doesn't turn out like how they exactly have it, because, it's going to be your own thing, your redirection and all the no's and all the side steps places you exactly where you're supposed to be because it's your path that you're creating for you. You're supposed to, I believe in like reverse engineering. I believe in following like your own like interests and like being more fluid. But then it's also a matter of where you end up is going to be exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, I agree. I think that at the end of the day, what people fail to realize is we are here for a short time, not a long time. And so while you are here, why be sad? Why be depressed? Why be angry? Why be envious? When you can celebrate life. There is joy in everyday life.
This is true.
And I think that that's something that is hard. It's a hard thing to realize, and it's something that I had to realize as a person is that it could be so much worse. And I think a lot of people take that saying for granted. But
Yeah.
that is so true. What you are dealing with right now could be so much worse. Like when I was looking for a job, and I know I've had conversations with you about it, and I literally, my whole mantra behind it is gotta figure it out, gotta provide. I really meant that thing because I was
Yeah.
like, what I'm not gonna let this do is take away my joy, take away my peace of mind. It was a constant prayer to me when I was job hunting that I was not only fulfilled, but I was getting everything that I wanted out of the job. Did I leave college with multiple job offers? Yes. But Forbes in particular was somewhere where I felt at home. I felt like I could get the most out of it. And I felt
Yeah.
like it was going to set me up for my next. When you are preparing to go into another phase of life, you have to be so content with where you are. I was just telling one of our mutual friends about this last night that I
Yeah.
saw this saying when I was job hunting that I really felt like I needed to see. And this pastor was just basically like, when you're grieving something so much that you wish you had, to God, it's almost like you're ungrateful for what you have right now. And that's something that really like stood out to me because I was like, I don't want God to take for granted that I'm not happy for all of the appearances I'm able to go to, the
Yeah.
jobs that he's lined up. I just have to trust the plan. I have, like you said, I have to do my part. And
Yeah.
the rest will figure itself out.
Clock
But in
it.
the midst of that, you have to be so content with life. You
Yes.
cannot walk around life just mad that you don't have everything. Be happy, because a lot of
Yeah.
people don't have what you have. And I think that's my philosophy, kind of just like moving, especially when you're transitioning.
I think what you spoke to is so important because shifting into that sort of like trying to land in life, it can be so much. Like you remember even my like post grad story. It was like, okay, what am I going to do?
Mhm.
What am I going to? My fellowship is
Yeah.
ending. Where do I want to go? I apply for this job, apply for this. Like I was holding two opportunities. I was like, okay, which one is it going to be? One fell through and I was still waiting to hear from the other and it just happened to work out. But I think there's something to be spoken about. Like, even if it's not post grad, we're always going to be in seasons where our anxiety is high, we're feeling sad, we're feeling anxious, and we're trying to actually get a grip on life and like land. Like, we're tired of dreaming, we're tired of manifesting, we're tired of like, we put first the effort and now we're waiting to land. Can you talk more about like how you dealt with those emotions of
Hmm.
actually landing and like trying to figure out getting through the process of anxiety and the sadness and the anxiousness and the excitement, like how did you deal with those emotions?
Yeah. I think that I'm not going to lie when I say this. I'm being very vulnerable right now. I was definitely depressed my second semester of college. And that's something that I had to realize coming out of it.
Yeah.
But I was depressed. I was functionally depressed. Because what I thought life would look like for me post grad at the time was not panning out to be what I thought it was going to be. So I saw it coming.
Yeah.
I saw it coming. I also was kind of like told by my grandma, like, hey, I think God says you're going to get a lot of no's. And she told me that Christmas morning. And I was like, okay, thanks for the warning. Let me prepare. I fasted my second semester of senior year for a long time, because I wanted God to see that I was serious, but I also wanted me to see that I was serious about my future. I
Yeah.
wanted to sacrifice things to be where I was. So I applied for a certain amount of jobs every day. I changed my mindset on a lot of things. I wasn't eating certain things. I was working out. Like, it was a discipline test, not only for me, but it was a
Yeah.
covenant in my relationship with my creator. So while
Yeah.
I was in my waiting season, I was done fasting. I was still applying. I was receiving all of these no's. And I can say that because I fasted and because I built my relationship with God so strong, the no's became motivation for me to go harder. It
Yeah.
didn't depress me as much as I thought it would. I know a lot of people deal with that, but it's all about like perspective. My perspective was that this was not the job for me. For some reason, God didn't want me here. So something else is coming where I'm going to want to be and where I'm going to get the most lessons out of it. So I took
Yeah.
all my no's. It's kind of like, okay, next place. Let's apply. I applied to jobs every single day.
Yeah.
I kid you not. And when it wasn't
In
working,
there.
because what I think sometimes when people like us or like influencers who have made it, when we kind of talk about the job process, we're not real about it. Did I cry during it? Yes. Did I crash out a couple times and had to pray afterwards? Yes. You know what I'm saying? But at the same
Yeah.
time, I never gave up. You know what I'm saying? And it took a lot of hard work and dedication to land the jobs that I have now. But I think that at the end, when I got that call, I would never forget this day. I honestly should have took a picture of when I got the call that I got Forbes. My eyes were like the size of golf balls. They were the size of golf balls, and I was just crying. Like, I'm being very authentic. I don't think I told anybody this, like, outside of my grandma and mom.
Yeah.
But when I got that call, Ishay, I just cried.
Yeah.
I got on my knees. I said thank you, Jesus, before I called anybody else. Like, it was just so fulfilling because, like, when you wait on it and you work on it, it's gonna
Yes.
come. Like I was just so happy that God kind of rewarded my patient season, my waiting season.
Girl.
And I was just like, this is it for me, you know? Like I was so happy. I called my grandma and my mom and I said, y'all, I got the job. We're moving to New York, y'all. We're moving to New York. And my grandma said, she said, God told me he was gonna do it. And she said, it may not have been how you wanted it to be. But all of that really gave me such a grateful heart. And
Yeah.
I think that, like, when you go through things and stuff, it makes you grateful for the smallest thing.
Yeah.
And that one yes was good enough for me my entire life because I
Yeah.
worked so hard to get there. And if it would have just came to me, it would have been like, I knew I had it in the bag. Like, I knew I deserved it. But no, I
Yeah.
really deserve this,
Yeah.
and so I just like encourage like everybody who's like going through that, it's gonna come. And when it comes, it's gonna feel so good. Like it's gonna be so rewarding to the
Yeah.
point where it's gonna just blow your mind that you are where you are. And
No.
that's kind of like the space that I was in after landing.
Yeah. I think that is something so true, and like really waiting and listening to the place that you are in. And I think people, they hear the religious side of it because I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual, but I've experienced the exact same thing. And so I think whether you're religious, spiritual, you don't believe, you just have personal faith in yourself, it is so important to, in
Mm-hmm.
those moments of deciding and you're at this crossroads and you're trying to figure out what is the right path, to take a step back and to listen. The world is always
Mm-hmm.
communicating back with you where you are at in your life. Like if you're trying to figure out what's the next move, what's this? If you take a moment to really pause, you're going to get some type of information back to you that's going to allow you to make your next step. And I've been in that exact place with my post-grad situation. I was weighing a job at Condé Nast that I was waiting to hear from, and then I had the 19th fellowship. And I was like, it's either going to be one of these. And I remember the Condé Nast opportunity fell through, and I was like, okay. And I was still waiting on 19th, but I had stopped applying to jobs. Like this was like I needed to move out of my apartment in a couple of
Mm-hmm.
days, and it was like, okay, what? You don't got a job? Like what's our next move? But I knew from the information that I got communicated back with me was like, girl, it's time to take a pause because this is it. And then I got my fellowship and then I got my current job. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like taking a moment and taking those pauses are so important to helping you in landing. It is about the determination, it is about the resilience, it is about all of those other things that we can tangibly do and physically do, but also the mindset of pausing and waiting and trusting in yourself and spirit and God and in something like bigger than you, in your tangibles of all the work you've done, all the things you've done in your life that led you to the small, big, whatever, you're going to land where you are. And then once you do land, it's like you're grateful. What advice would you give to people who are actually sort of stepping into their rooms now? Because I think it's so important to not only like get into the room, but then also to successfully stay there and like living in the moment. What advice would you give to people who are like, okay, I'm here now, I got the thing, what do I do?
Be teachable. I think that sometimes when we get into the rooms, our egos can kind of like go through the roof because, like, I got here, I must be good. Yeah, you're good, girl. But learn your ropes too.
You can
Be
always get better.
teachable. You don't know everything. Exactly. I am a avid believer that, like you said, I don't know everything. Teach me your methods.
It's
Maybe my
also
methods
so
are
freeing
outdated.
to have to be able to say like I don't know everything.
Yeah, yeah. It's freeing. It's liberating, and it's just like it's part of life. You don't know everything. You don't study everything. You don't do everything. So it's important to have people who don't think like you. Like that's just I think when people go into jobs and they're not teachable, it kind of like makes them fail from the get go. You need to know who you are. You ain't no way in $1 million you could allow me or let me do something that I don't feel comfortable with. I think that that's a workplace boundary. If for instance I don't really do clubs like that or whatever, I don't really like, that's not really my thing. At one of the companies I worked at, that was their thing. That's the way that you went and like mingle with other coworkers. Like that was their thing. I would go sometimes in the beginning and end up leaving like that night, and they would be like, hey, Do you want to drink? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Now, don't get me wrong. I love a good cocktail sometimes, but I'm not an avid drinker like that. So I'd be like, no, I don't really want to do that. Like, that's not who I am as a person. So I don't really want to do that. And sometimes they'll try to pressure you to kind of do stuff that you don't feel comfortable with, but you do not have to. Some bosses really respect when you approach them with your boundaries. And I've had that. You know, I've had a boss tell me to do something where I had to have a one-on-one conversation with her, and I was like, "Girl, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm letting you know that right now that this makes me feel uncomfortable. This goes against what I believe as a human being, and I don't want my name on that." And so I think that, you know, when you're walking into these new spaces, know who you are, be teachable, be friendly, talk to everybody. When I was at NASA, I was friends with the whole NASA building. I was friends with the security downstairs to the point where, like, for my birthday, the security team like bought me like this whole little like card, and like we were cool like that. You know what I'm saying? And when I graduated, they ended up sending me something. Like, be cool with everybody. You don't
Yeah.
know who the next person is. Everybody's job is equal. So if you walk around the workplace, it takes nothing to talk to somebody. Really, like, be a person. Don't go in there being a robot. You know what I'm saying? You're not a robot. You're a person. And you're there because they fell in love with who you are as a person.
Yeah, that's true.
So people skills first, skills second.
That's very real. Thank you so much for being my very first guest. I feel like people are going to love this episode. Can you just tell people where to find you on the socials? What website should they be looking at to read your stuff?
Yeah, so definitely be looking out on Forbes.com. That's my new gig. I'm a staff writer there, so it's so much fun. Follow me on IG at i.am.asia Asia. I'm there all the time. If you like need tips or whatever, I'm always in my DM. I love chatting. So come follow me, hit me up. I'm available.
This was amazing. Thanks so much, Asia. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to rate the show on Spotify and follow us at All Things Going Pod on Instagram.